Between miles, today we are talking about how to push through in a race or event when it gets hard.
Yeah.
So, reason for this topic is, well, obviously you not too long ago broke your ankle. Not too long ago you ran 650 kilometers in less than 6 days.
Yes.
Must have been pretty hard at times. I did a 10k race not too long ago.
And you've been breaking your half marathon PB constantly.
Yes. So because of those things, I thought it would be a pretty suitable topic to talk about. A lot of people have been racing over the last few months, but now as we are in summer, people are starting to prepare for their fall races.
Yeah.
At least I see it a lot. I see so many people signing up for new races. And I think every single person that races will get into the situation where, it just gets hard.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, both. This way. So, just to kind of maybe, create a situation to place ourselves in.
Yeah.
So we can all be on the same page.
And also, I think it's always good to talk about pushing yourself in paces and distances, but it's very different, isn't it? Like pushing yourself in 100k versus a half marathon versus a 10k, and also what pushing yourself looks like
and what it means.
For someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes pushing yourself can mean finishing a race.
Yeah.
It can mean just completing it. Not just. Sorry, that's the wrong word.
Well, you can either want to complete it, you can want to break a specific pace or time.
Yeah. Or you're full on competing and racing someone or a time you have in mind.
And maybe you are literally competitively running, or maybe you're just doing it for leisure for yourself. Like, in a way, both of us still are.
Yeah.
Even though we have goals, we're not doing the Olympics, right?
No.
So I think there's a lot of different, maybe a lot of different, how would you say it?
Just ways to compete and ways to push yourself, right?
Yeah. And I think definitions, that's the word I was looking for. Definitions of pushing yourself.
Yeah.
But I do think pushing yourself, even when you are physically tired in a race or event, it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty much always in your head. Even when you're super tired, you see this probably during the ultras, people are still able to push through.
Yeah.
And finish. So maybe we could go to your most recent accomplishment and talk about a moment where it got really hard and then what you did to get out of that.
Yeah. So I guess for me, it's always thinking about the next kilometer. So as long as you're not talking about like serious injuries or pain where I know there's a difference between pushing through pain and pushing through like serious injury.
Yeah.
And I think the more you do something and the more that you're comfortable with your body, you understand the difference between those two.
Yeah, and that's important because it's easy to push yourself into an injury.
Exactly.
And we don't want to do that.
No, but so I think for me, pushing myself means, especially in ultra, thinking about the distance, thinking about, can you do 1 more kilometer?
Yes.
Of course I can do 1 more kilometer. Does it mean walking it? Maybe. But
do you ever struggle with that during an ultra? Like when maybe you are on terrain where you could technically maybe run it or jog it,
and you have to walk it,
and you decide to walk it.
I guess it depends at what stage. Like if I'm really struggling and I'm in like the mode of like trying to think of ways to quit, all you got to think about is, can you make it through another kilometer? Not even can you run.
Yeah.
Can you make it through? I feel like it might be that one.
I'm gonna check the route for a second.
Pause.
Let's see.
Yes. Right, we know where we're going.
Yes.
So for me, it's making it through that kilometer, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean pushing in the sense that you think at that point like running. It means mentally knowing you can get through it.
Yeah.
And if you can get through one more kilometer, then just reassess.
And you don't get to a point where you're telling yourself, I've done 21 more kilometers now.
Yeah. So for me, I guess maybe it works differently for some other people, but for me, usually when I'm in a bad moment like that, it's because I'm tired. Maybe I ran through a bit of terrain I don't like and I'm just in a grumpy mood.
Yeah.
Usually a bit of road. I hate road on long distances, or if it's busy cars, just anything like that. Maybe I just need to sit down. Maybe I just need to talk to the crew, to someone for 5 minutes. And then usually after 2-3 kilometers, sometimes even only one, your mood can switch.
Yeah.
And you'll have a bit of food. You'll be like, actually, let's just jog for a minute. And I think that's where paces really come in helpful, because you'll have a pacer say, look, you see that lamppost over there? Let's just walk to there. Let's just chill. When you get to the lamppost, just try jogging.
Yeah.
And, when you're like 400 kilometers in, you're really tired.
Life hate this. Sorry, guys. 1 sec. Yeah, pacers. So
so the paces really help. And then you'd be surprised at what a little bit of time does. I think, obviously, when you're speed racing, as I'd call it, like a half marathon or a 10K or something like that, you don't have those moments to sort of check in and reset almost.
Not as much.
Whereas in ultras, you have that kilometre to sort of reset.
Yeah.
And you can go again.
I think, because of course with half marathons, sometimes even 10Ks, maybe even with 5Ks, I'm not sure, you also do get pacers.
Yeah.
That can help. And I think regarding checking in, you should learn to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
But you don't have as much time.
Yeah. So I'll just, that's a really cool sort of building.
Wow. That is cool.
It's like a bus. That's so cool. Anyway, sorry, distraction. With paces in an ultra, I'll just describe to anyone that doesn't know the difference between paces. So a pacer in half marathons, 10Ks and things like that are people that you have that a lot of the time will have either like a flag on them or, the pace that they're running.
Yeah.
And that's set to a certain time. Whereas ultras, the pacers will be someone that you probably know that isn't part of the race.
Can you always bring in your own pacer in ultra?
So some races you can,
okay.
Usually really long ones. Yeah. So, in America, usually like the 200 milers, you can bring in pacers after a certain point, not before like 100 miles or something like that. And obviously with projects that you do yourself, you just bring them in.
Yeah.
But these aren't people that set a pace. These are people that are basically like
your coach on the
just
trail.
Like a friend to have, someone that when it's dark and you're maybe hallucinating, they keep you a bit sane, they keep you on track.
Yeah.
They might carry some water for you.
Yeah.
They're sort of like your little guide. So
which I imagine is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
To indeed then push through when it gets really hard.
Yeah, exactly. They are your key to keep on going.
Yeah.
Which is the same, I guess, for smaller, like shorter distances. But different pacer, different sort of pacing.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know about you and races, but paces are one thing to really use effectively in races.
Yeah.
Do you use paces?
Well, that's the thing. I've never used them.
Yeah.
I always see them during my races. And I often wonder at the start of the race, like, am I going to try to stick to this pacer? But it really messes with my head.
Yeah.
I then start running, I think easily maybe too fast.
Yeah.
Or if the pacer is like, say I want to run a sub 130 half marathon. I can do that. I've done it. But if I start running with the 130 half marathon pacer, then I know I need to go faster at some point.
Yeah.
And that can mess me up, make me really nervous.
Yeah.
If I go out
when do you break away?
Yeah, exactly. And with the 125, it's also hard because I know that might be just too fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm right in between right now. I think if you have a specific goal, so if you go out and you're like, I just want to run just a 130 and just sub, then I could see how that can help you.
Yeah.
Because you stick to the group And as long as you stick to that group, you're probably gonna make it, because you will sprint the last 100, 200 meters or something.
Yeah.
Like 400, 500 feet. If you have that in you, of course, but that might help you. And because you are running with the pacer, you're likely running in a group. You get a bit of a windshield as well.
Yeah.
And it can be really motivating, of course. For me, though, it gives me extra pressure. So like last week, I ran a 10K race. 10Ks are not my thing. You need to get, into your pace really quickly.
Yeah.
I find it difficult. But it got really hard for me. At kilometer, actually like right in the middle.
Yeah.
So 4 to 7. We were out in the fields. There was a lot of wind. I was not with the patient. I could see this big group in front of me. And I had to find the motivation to push myself through.
Yeah.
And to keep running at a good pace. And to think to myself, you'll be okay. What I start doing in that moment, which helps me a lot, is first say, okay, whatever. Just try to keep going. And run your own race. Like, I will repeatedly say to myself, run your race. So don't get obsessed by the person in front of you who's maybe going a little bit faster. Just focus on you.
Yeah.
What feels good. And if you keep focusing on that, then you probably will not go too fast. I mean, obviously you might get to this point and your heart rate is already sky high and it's so hard to pull yourself back and to actually calm down. I've been there.
Yeah.
But if you can, then tell yourself, this is my race, running it my way. I'm not gonna let anybody get into my head. And I'm gonna run the best I can.
Yeah.
I think we can go this way.
Nice. And I guess I have a question.
Yes.
If it was someone's first race, they just started running, how would you describe like to push someone on that, like, okay, rephrase that question. I couldn't go.
Sure.
How would you tell someone when it's their first race, like, how would you describe pushing it? If they've never pushed it before, if they've never raced,
okay.
how'd you go about that?
It's a good question. Also, we got to a dead end again, so
Damn it!
we'll go back and take a ride.
Wait, we can hop over this. That's
Sure.
the same dead end, right?
Maybe it is. Shall I take a quick look? Yeah.
I think it's the same dead end
Yeah,
we got
we
to.
can do that.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
A little oh, I don't even need to hop over.
Oh.
Just walk through. Okay.
So really like a fence for nothing, really.
Typical Portuguese fence. It is a fence for nothing. There's literally nothing on both sides. Okay,
Nice.
so imagine it is your first race. You've never ran a race. You hear people. You can hear them talk about hitting the wall,
Yeah.
especially on marathons. Also on half marathons. On 10Ks, I think a little bit less, but you will get maybe into the same dark space,
Yeah.
which we call the pain cave. So how do you mentally prepare for this? So you will get to a point maybe during your race where your body just starts to feel really tired. Might be your legs, might also just be your whole body.
Or your mind.
Or your
your
mind.
mind's telling you you're tired.
Yeah. And I think the hardest bit, which at least for me it has been every single time, and I read it a lot online as well, it's just your heart rate. If your heart rate goes really high, everything starts to get really tough.
Yeah.
Pushing it, which means at that point, like trying to get your legs to still move fast, becomes really difficult. And mentally, you might think that you cannot do another kilometer. Excuse me. So at that point, to keep going, to keep pushing, to make sure that you not only keep running, but also maybe keep up that pace. What I would say is try to actually let go of the pace. Because what I find is when you imagine you're doing a 10K, you get to 5K and you get really tired,
Yeah.
and you let go of the pace. And you say, okay, just gonna try to finish it. I'm just gonna run comfortably. If you have been going faster than your usual pace before that, so the first 5K, you will still run a pretty decent pace,
Yeah.
the other 5K.
And I think sometimes just chilling for a moment could mean that the last kilometer you could pick it back up again.
That too. Yeah, often you find that actually the last kilometer, all of a sudden you're able to give a little sprint,
Yeah,
which is crazy. But I usually see that when I start to let go of the pace, yes, I will go slower, but the difference is way less than I think it is.
yeah,
I feel like I'm dropping by minutes, and it's often 30 seconds or less.
yeah,
So, and that can really help, because when you let go, your heart rate starts to come down a little bit, and then indeed, maybe the last kilometer or two, you're able to pick it back up a little bit. So mentally, I think what I do is try to let go. Keep telling myself, it's your race.
yeah,
Run your race. Don't worry about others. Don't think about what your friends are going to think.
yeah.
Or people on Strava.
Also, you got to think, no one really cares.
No one cares. It's
You
your
care, no one really
Yeah.
cares.
And that's one of the things, I mean, I would love to do an episode one day on pre-race nerves.
Yeah,
I think we get really nervous, whether it's a race or something like you did, thinking about what other people might think.
yeah. Are we going to be good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we set out expectations, right?
yeah.
We
it's
might
all-
tell others, I'm
all
trying
you."
to run in less than 6 days.
Yeah,
I'm trying to run a sub 130. But nobody cares if you don't hit it.
no. The
care.
pressure's good to have,
Yeah.
I think, sometimes, but no one really cares.
Yeah. And also if you can remind yourself of that during the race when you're trying to, push through, that can be really helpful.
Yeah,
If you tell yourself, you know what? My friends, my partner, my parents, they're still going to be proud.
yeah,
That's what you should be doing. And also, even if they were not,
yeah,
screw them.
yeah.
You gave it your everything.
Exactly.
And it really is about you. It's your race.
And I guess also we've spoken a lot about races, but some people don't like races, some people
Yeah.
don't race, but you can still push your pace
On the
and push
track.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be on races, I don't think.
that's true.
Like, it's not everyone's, it's like comfort zone, is it?
No, and I mean, I see a lot of people that indeed do sign up for races, but then the first time they really need to push is just on a long run, like finishing a long run.
Yeah,
And sometimes that's the whole goal of the training plan, of course. It's not a race, but it's to be able to run a specific distance.
yeah,
And that also requires you to push through. And I think there you might not feel the race nerves, but a lot of the things are
you'll
the
probably
same.
end up getting the same endorphins from finishing though and be like,
Yeah.
wow, I just accomplished that.
yeah, I did that.
Yeah,
And you know what? That was all you. So you finished that. I think in that way, a lot of it is similar.
yeah,
So how do you get through that, right? Okay, you're out on your first 20k long run, or maybe even 10k, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
It's your longest run yet. And you are a little bit uncertain if you can finish it. If that's you, and you go out and, it gets tough at some point, then try to think about all these things. Can you let go? Let go of your own expectations on how fast you are going to do it.
yeah,
Just finish it. Just think about that next kilometer, like you said. Do 1 more kilometer, then do 1 more kilometer. And at the end, you're going to look at yourself and be like, heck, the 20 are over.
exactly.
That was it. I did it.
You did a long run, or maybe you did a really technical terrain.
Yeah.
Maybe you did some.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm going to tell myself, well done at the end of this, okay?
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, I think pushing through. The summary I kind of just gave it. It's think about the next kilometer, let go of pace. Think about this is your race, this is your run. Be proud of what you're doing.
Yeah, and be proud that if you're not racing, you're still a runner, you're still doing amazing, you're still
Yes.
pushing that pace.
Yes.
I think obviously races are amazing, and I think we both love doing races, but
Yes.
that doesn't mean that you have to do races as a runner.
No.
Um,
No. I think sometimes, whether it's a long run or a race, you might get into this space where you are really struggling, but you do still want to give it your all, even though you feel like you're going to throw up or whatever. If that's you, think about this. Think about, 1, how much longer is it going to take you? Sometimes I realize I have 2k left, and for me during a race that might mean 8 minutes.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, 8 minutes. Can I push for 8 minutes? And if not, can I push for 1 minute?
Yeah.
And another minute. Like I start thinking in time instead of distance. Sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
And then I also try to think, and this really helps me, about how proud I'm going to be when I'm done.
Yeah.
Whether it's a race, a long run, a trail run,
Yeah.
adventure run, helping myself to think about the post-run vibes,
Yeah.
feelings, the pride,
Yeah.
that can help me a lot as well. So, yeah.
I
think
mean,
that's
I
pretty
think that's a
solid.
perfect place to end.
Yeah, and I think if anybody has, other tips on how to push through,
Yeah.
it would be really cool to see them in the comments.
Yes.
So drop them in the comments.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah, and
Woo!
then, we can finish right here
Oh yeah.
with the beautiful ocean.
Well, we're about to go for a dip in.
Yes. So that's like our motivation for this run.
Yeah.
We get to go for a dip.
Woo! And then some lunch.
That's it. All
Nice.
right. See you on the next one.